I wanted to talk to y'all today about the tiny house that put me on the map as a tiny home small space designer. So if you don't know about my background, just a short snippet, I was the lead designer for ABC's Extreme Makeover Home Edition for a long time. So I did like 120 homes on that show, and generally they were all really big, like anywhere from 2,500 square foot to 4,500 square foot, somewhere in between. So from there, I went to work on a number of other different television shows as a design producer, production designer, art director, and I landed a job with Tiny House Nation on FYI's network. And I found myself designing homes in like 92 square feet, 120 square feet, 240 square feet. And it was such a totally different challenge than what I had come from on Extreme Makeover. I found myself designing homes that I actually wanted to live in. And so this was one of my first projects. It's called the Century Marfa. It is not in Marfa. Why I named it that is honestly, I just thought it kind of had like the Marfa, Texas, West Texas vibe. It's actually in Austin, Texas, near South Congress. And we designed it for this really young, fun couple that owns a winery. And I think it was like my first just real take on a tiny house, and anytime I do projects, I always have color. And so obviously I think the outstanding thing about this house is this pop of color. So many tiny homes out there are natural wood boxes, and this house has texture and color, and so that's just kind of starting from the outside. So let's talk about the outside and then we'll go in. We have these epic stairs that I painted fun colors. I call them my Candyland staircases. And so that's one thing. It just makes this huge, fun, colorful statement as you walk up into the tiny house. I think the next best thing about the outside of this is, the skirting. Tiny homes often, if you're gonna land it and keep it on a pad for a while, skirting is kind of it can just be a challenge in the design. And on this one, this couple was not planning to move this tiny home anytime soon, so we built these framed panels. And now this is from a company called Parasoleil. I met them at a trade show. They make these really cool CNC kind of routed pattern panels, and they can come in different materials. Now for this project, we used copper. This copper, y'all, was stunning. And so I've gotten a lot of questions about these panels since I designed this. Where are they from? And just, how did we build it? And so this is kind of a fun, outstanding statement piece. I think the last thing I want to say about the exterior on this one is just the floor plan. And we'll talk about that a little bit more in a second. But what made this tiny house design so popular? Definitely it was the floor plan. This is an L shape. So from the outside right now, you're looking at the living room. So this is where you would walk into the living room. There's an indoor-outdoor breezeway right here that connects the two trailers. And then this side over here on the right is the bedroom unit. And this has a gooseneck trailer hitch right here, and we'll see more of that when we go inside. So let's go inside. Right here, so this is where you would walk up from those what I call my Candyland stairs, and this goes straight into the living room. Now I used reclaimed flooring in this tiny house. This flooring is from a house that was demoed in East Austin, so it gives a lot of nice, really warm texture. We did use shiplap on the walls, and the reason for that, a lot of times drywall cracks in tiny homes because of the move and the shifts, and so shiplap does work really well. And so we've got a lot of natural light coming in through this breezeway. I did patio doors. There's 3 sets of doors actually on this house, which really allows an indoor-outdoor feel. Now when you come in, the first thing you see is the sofa, and my client had this really cool like surfboard style coffee table, and that was kind of a funny challenge during the design process because we were like, you want us to fit that in your tiny house? But it actually fit really well. And I think that kind of helped. Now, this did land in Austin, Texas, so we have a little bit of character and fun with the art on the back wall. Lots of transoms to let in the natural light, but to give a little bit of a wall behind the sofa. And then here's a really beautiful angle of the full side of the living room. You've got the sofa, the transoms above. We did a wall unit for the HVAC, and then this is the kitchen. I love this kitchen, y'all. It's probably one of my favorite kitchens I've ever designed. One of the tricks that I did in this house, and it's a color trick that you can use, I painted the ceiling black. And then I took that black down the wall onto the kitchen backsplash. The reason I did this is because I wanted to create the optical illusion that this space was in fact bigger than it actually is. It's just like fashion. I've told this before. I'm really small, so I'm not going to go out and wear like horizontal stripes because, well, it doesn't make me look any taller. Not a good idea. But if I'm going out and I want to wear stripes, I'm going to wear stripes that go up and down vertical because I want to look a little taller than I am. So I took that same concept and applied it to the architecture and the interior design of this home. So it goes black on the ceiling, black on the kitchen backsplash, and it really pulls your eye into the space. This kitchen, I really love this little detail that we did here. The kitchen shelves. I actually went shopping on South Congress, found a box of literally old vintage used belts, grabbed a bunch of them for a total of $18, and we used the leather belts to hang the shelving for the kitchen. And I am an open shelving fan, but look how fun this is. It just like creates this beautiful little touch of texture, something old, something new. Now, when we go, so we also have this kitchen island. I want to point this out. This is the same kitchen island if y'all have seen my Joshua Tree tiny house that Joey and I lived in for 2 years. This is the same kitchen island design. So this is actually the first time that I designed it and we built it. But it has a flip-up dining table. And then on this one, we actually did refrigerator drawers for this client. And that really was something that they enjoyed using. Because they didn't want a big refrigerator like we have in our tiny house. And so this was such a fun home. I love the way this living room turned out. Now, let's go through the breezeway. I'm going to pretend like we're walking through this house. We're going through the breezeway from the living room. This outside space is the perfect little place to sit and sit in the shade. Now I want to show you a fun little trick that we did, and I've also gotten lots of feedback on this. At the time, this couple had 2 medium-sized dogs, and so we cut out the space under the bench because literally, y'all, if you know anything about tiny homes, you know you want to use every single inch of space that you can use. And so this bench, we cut out space, put dog beds in there, and it gave them a place to hang out, like if it's raining outside or they want to go inside. Now, later down the line, this couple ended up with goats, and we ended up calling this the goat house. But this space is really fun, and it connects the 2 units together. I want to point out the lighting in this house. I love the barn lights. So you see on this right here, this is called the Cow Wall Sconce, and this is from Barn Light Electric. They're one of my favorite companies. They're American made. They love they're really passionate about their products and keeping the craft alive. And so let's go to their website. I just want to point them out. I love this. They're family owned. They're out of Florida. We work with them a lot. And this is that wall sconce right here. And it comes in a lot of fun colors. It's a little bit of a retro vibe, and it's a really affordable price at $172. So I love this sconce. Actually, here's the house right there on their website. So that's exciting. The other thing to mention about this breezeway is I used these Parasoleil panels, and we created a custom door. So, or more like a screen. So if for some reason the couple wanted a little bit more privacy going between the 2 units, they could close these Parasoleil custom door panels and screens and then kind of block it out and make it more private. Now let's go into the bedroom unit. This is so pretty. So in order to tie the 2 units together visually, I had the ceiling painted black as well, because once you go from the living to the bedroom, I wanted it to just to connect and feel unified. One of my favorite things about this floor plan, and I get a lot of feedback, a lot of compliments on it, is this bathroom. For a tiny house, this bathroom is a great size. And the way we were able to accomplish this is I took 2 barn doors, added a structural post here, and these 2 doors open, same thing that we did on the Joshua Tree house from me and Joey, but when these 2 doors are open, this bathroom feels really connected to the bedroom, or you can close it off. Another lovely feature about this is if I'm staying in the bedroom and I have guests staying in the living room, I can shut the barn door toward my bed, and then they feel like they have an entrance into the bathroom that's just facing their side. So really beautiful. Now, one of the fun little details, and I actually laid this myself. Now, you have to remember back then, this was a TV show. So we were working nonstop. We built this house in a week, actually less. And so lots of long hours. This tile, the You Look Good floor tile in the bathroom, I actually hand laid myself around 3 o'clock in the morning. So nice little detail. Something nice to look at when you wake up. But here's that picture of those 2 barn doors opening up. And this bathroom has a bathtub, a shower, a rain shower. We captured some space up here for luggage racks, which was really nice. And this ended up being a feature on the fly, but we had this cross beam here, and I painted a pop color for a little bit of unexpected color. You've got your reclaimed floors. And then let's take a little turn in the view and go over toward the bed. We have the bed, we have the barn light sconce, of course some fans. Now, the gooseneck area can sometimes be just wasted space. And so we ended up opening this up, adding a little custom ladder, and that became their walk-in closet. I had an extra scrap of the Parasoleil panels, so I used that as a little bit of a divider and a bookshelf connecting between the bedroom and the walk-in closet. And then they have, plenty of space for their clothing, y'all. The 2 things I will say about this that I learned in the design process and would not do again was, 1, the owner of this was very, very tall. So for him to go up into this to get dressed every day probably wasn't very fun, to be honest. The second thing I would never do again, and I learned it the hard way, this is over the gooseneck trailer, and we put the washer and dryer right on top of the hitch for the gooseneck. Well, guess what? When this unit is washing and drying, it's literally like shaking the whole trailer. So it wasn't a good place to put the laundry or the dryer and washer. So had I to do it again, I would have put it behind us over by the bathroom. So that's the bedroom unit, you guys. And last thing I'll say before we leave the bedroom is people have asked me, why are there a pair of shoes in the picture on the bed? Well, these shoes, I wore them during the whole episode. They're made by one of my friends. She has a company out of Guatemala called Tasha. They make handmade shoes. They're, supporting artisans in Guatemala, and they're one of a kind. Y'all know how I feel about ethical products, so I wanted to mention them in this. And you can go to their website, One of a Kind Shoes. You pick their fabric, and you get the boots made, handmade. They literally trace your foot. It's so cool. Please check them out. So to end, you guys, I want to just say, I think the very thing that made this tiny house the most popular I've ever had. This house was featured on Apartment Therapy, on Lonnie. I mean, it honestly, it blew up. I mean, I have gotten so many inquiries about this tiny house, and I think the single thing that made it most popular, besides the color and the texture and the panels on the skirting, it was the floor plan. The floor plan is an L shape. It's a super efficient use of space. You feel disconnected from privacy, from your living, from your bedroom, but then you feel connected with a breezeway. It allows indoor-outdoor living, which if you're into tiny homes, I am assuming you want that lifestyle. So it really was the floor plan that made this an epic design. So if you have questions, please ask me about it. I would love to answer. This was such a fun house to design, and it just really kicked off my passion for tiny home living. And of course it was fun to work on a television show, but just to be able to connect with this couple and create a space for them where they could live and flourish in their creativity was exactly what I love doing. Design can change lives, that's my motto, and I feel like this house really did do that. So thank y'all for joining us. Please come back next week for more content. Hit that subscribe button, hit the bell if you want to be notified when we post new content. It might be coming at you from midnight over at my house because that's the only time the babies are asleep, but I still have energy, so here we go. We'll see you next week.
Is there a place with sun all year round and pina coladas with pretty faces and sand on the ground? I want to stop this ongoing train before I lose my mind and go insane.